Good morning, grade 5. It's good to have you with me. It is time for maths, and we are continuing with time today. Just before we start, I keep going on about how important times tables are. And one of my past students used something on YouTube, which perhaps works for you. It's a website, it's some people who've done some music, so they've taken well-known songs and they've put the times tables to the music of those songs, and because music or sound plays an important part in our memories, it's quite a good way of helping us to remember things. And one of my past pupils, as I mentioned, she used this, and it's something that she's got really good at. She practiced it every day, and now because of this, she's quite good at her times tables. So I thought I'd just share with you the 8 times table and the 9 times table, so you can see what it is that they're talking about.
I'm just beginning. 36, 45, 54, or 63. Now watch that 70 to that 81, that 90. Yeah, watch that 99, 108. Oh, life is so great with this not with nay.
Yeah, so you get an idea of what that's all about. Using the music to remember the times tables. I hope you could hear what they were saying. If you want to find that, just go to YouTube, search for times table mashup, and you'll be able to find it. So, as a reminder at the beginning of all of our maths lessons, if you need to email me, it's grade5@worksheetcloud.com, and after the lesson, click on the link above and do the worksheet, and then you'll see whether you've got what it is that we're doing today. As per normal, we are going to start with our mental arithmetic, the other thing that I think is incredibly important in foundation of your maths. So I've given you 10 problems, you've got 40 seconds, you just need to put the answer. Please take note that I've included plus and minus, so it's not just one, it's got both, so don't accidentally do the wrong operation when you're looking for your answer. Your 40 seconds start now. Halfway. And stop. So very often when we teach in class, and when I say we, I'm talking about teachers in general, we very often focus on one particular operation. So like we do all pluses, or we do all subtraction, or we do all multiplication, all division. And then when children are faced with like a revision test and they've got all 4 together, they quite often make the mistake. So please always check which operation it is that it's asking. And that's why I've mixed in plus and minus today. And in other tests or in other mental arithmetics, I'll mix up some of the other operations. And sometimes you'll have all 4, sometimes a combination of 2. But just be aware that you're always checking what it is that you're actually being asked to do. So let's go through. 5 plus 13 is 18. 5 plus 14 is 19. 13 minus 9 is 4. 6 plus 3 is 9. 14 plus 13 is 27. 4 minus 3 is 1. 9 minus 4 is 5. 14 minus 8 is 6. 11 plus 9 is 20. 12 minus 3 is 9. If you missed any of those, or you want to just go over it again, just rewind the video and watch it again, and you can mark as we go. So today we're looking at time again, but this time we're going to be putting the time onto the analog clock. So previously you were taking, excuse me, you were reading the time off the analog clock. The analog clock is like the wall one where the time goes round and round, or the hands go round and round. And this time we are going to take digital time, or written or spoken time, and put it onto the clock. So that's the next step. Our goals, or our lesson goals, are to recap, writing and saying the time. That's what we were doing in the last lesson, and I'm going to do that by going through last time's homework, and then be able to convert digital time to analog time, which is what I was just talking about now. So let's jump across to the whiteboard so that we can go through the homework from last lesson. I hope that's big enough that you can see. Okay, so when I'm going this way around, I tend to look at the hours first, and then I look at the minutes. When we're going the other way, I'm going to do it the other way around. But at this one, I can see that the hour hand, which is pink, which is why I'm going to write in pink for this, is 2. And the minute hand is pointing at the 12, which is in minutes 00. So it's 2. I'm going to go through all of the times, or at least let's do the first 6 times, and then I'm going to write out how we say them. So the next one is done. So we're looking at number 3. So the hour is after the 9, but not yet at the 10. So we say that's a 9, because everywhere inside that hour is the 9th hour. Well, it's actually the 10th hour, but we talk about it being 9 and some minutes. And then the minute hand is pointing at the 4, which in minutes is 20, because 5, 10, 15, 20. So it's 9, 20. Oh, I'm already saying how you say it. For 4, the hour hand is after the 10, but not at the 11. So it's going to be 10. And the minute hand is over here. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So it's 10, 25. Number 5, we're looking at the hour hand being after the 3, but not at the 4. And the minute hand being pointing at the 3, so that's 5, 10, 15. We do have these smaller minutes in between, but because these clocks are quite small, I haven't included any where it's pointed in between. Looking at number 6, the hour hand is after 4, but not at 5, so it's 4. And it's at the middle, which is the 6, and in minutes that's 30. So it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 is at the 6. Okay, let's do the names of each of these quickly. All right, so this one is a 00, so we say that it's 2 o'clock. This one here is not yet at the halfway mark, so we say it's 20 past 9. So it's not quite at the halfway, so we talk about being after something. Same for the next one. 25 past, and our hour was 10. Likewise with the next one, although it's a special one because it's pointing at the 15 and we divide our clock into 4. So we talk about it being quarter past, and our hour was 3. You could also talk about 15 minutes past. That would also be considered correct, although I prefer the quarter past. It's just how people are more likely to say it. The next one's a special one. It's at the halfway mark, so we talk about half past, and our hour was 4. Okay, let's jump back and look at the 7 to 12. So our hour is after 10, but not at 11, so it's going to be 10. Our minutes were at the 45. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So it's 10:45. The next one, the hour is pointing at the 6. And the minutes is pointing at the 12, which is a 0. Number 9, our hour is not quite at 10. So it's after 9, not at 10, and so it's 9 that we have there. It's almost at the 12, so it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, so 9:55. Number 10, after 11, but not at 12, so we talk about it being 11 something. Sorry, that's, yeah, number 10. And the minutes is pointing over here, which is, if you count it, 35 minutes. Or number 11, it's after 6, but not at 7, so it's 6 something. And the minutes is at 5, pointing at the 1, which means it's 5 past. Be careful to make sure that you put the 0 in, otherwise you're going to make it look like 6:50, which isn't the same. And the final one, it's after 2, but not at 3, so it's 2 something. And if you count through that, you'll get to 2:50. So most of the second one are in the section where we talk about it's past halfway and we're on the way to the next hour. So with 45, we're on the way to the next hour. So we're going to talk, that's one of our special ones again, about 1:45 and 1:45 the next hour, which is 11. Excuse me. This one is again on the 00, so it's like number 1, where we talk about 6 o'clock. It's exactly on the 6. All right, the next one is almost at the 10, so we're going to talk about it being something to 10. And in fact, if we look at the clock for number 9, we can see that it's 5 minutes until the next hour. So we talk about it being 5, 2, and the next hour is 10. Again, for the next one, we're after the halfway mark. So that's halfway, and we passed halfway. So we're going to count how many to the next hour. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So we talk about 25, 2, and the next hour was 12, because we can see the hour there is 11, 12. This one is in the first half, so it's just after the hour, so it's 5 past, and it's 5 past, and our hour is 6. And finally, the last one, it's way past the halfway mark. So we're going to talk about how many minutes to the next hour. So 5, 10 minutes, 10, 2, and the next hour is 3. So 10 to 3. Okay. It is one of these things that takes practice, but once it makes sense in your head, it's going to be one of those things that's just there and you're able to refer to it quite easily, but it's not always something that everyone gets on the first try. And in fact, when you do this in grade 4, a lot of people don't get it, and still sometimes in grade 5, some people don't get it. So don't worry if you haven't quite mastered it, if you're not feeling confident yet. It's one of those things that takes time and practice, especially because it's very weird how we don't have just one way of doing it. We talk about one thing until we get to halfway, and then another thing until we get to the end. And then we have special cases like when it's on 1/4 of an hour and half an hour and 3/4 and o'clock. I don't know why we don't make it easier, but that is unfortunately the way it is. Once you've got it, there's nothing new to learn. So just practice, and hopefully after some time you'll get it. So this time we're looking at digital to analog. Let's put myself up there. Digital to analog, we start by using only 12-hour digital time. So what that means is when we got this, we're going to use AM or PM, and it actually doesn't matter which one it is because it's going to look the same on this clock. You would just normally have something that would indicate whether it was AM or PM. Although lots of watches don't, because I mean you just look outside, and if it's daytime, well you know, and if it's nighttime, well you know. So normally a digital clock won't necessarily, an analog clock won't necessarily have an AM or a PM. Okay, so let's go across and have a look at our clock, and I've got some times to put on there. Perhaps actually just before we do that, this is quite neat for me because I've put a picture here and I can draw on the clock. But for today's homework, where you have to put something on a clock, I've given you a printout with 12 clocks on it that you could print if you want to, but not everyone has access to a printer at home. And so I just want to spend a moment just talking about if you were going to draw a clock, how would you go about it? To do like a rough clock, you don't have to be like super accurate. So first up, you shouldn't really do this, but I'm going to tilt this so that you can see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put something around. So in this case, a cup. You don't have to use a cup. I think a toilet roll holder is great. I've also seen children use glue. Oh, that's not great, but there we go. There's the clock around the outside. Let me just touch that up a little bit. So now I'm going to freehand the rest of it. Okay, so there's my circle that I start with. The next step is to just look at the very top, and that's going to be your 12, and then opposite at the very bottom is going to be 6. Look to the right-hand side, that will be 3, and exactly opposite, that will be 6. Oh, sorry, that will be 9. And that's probably the easiest part to do. The next step is we have to now put in 1 and 2 between that. So we need to divide this space here into 3 pieces. And the way that I go about doing that is I put my pencil somewhere. I'm going to guess where a third is. So I've got my pencil there, and with my eyes, I'm looking to see where the next one will be. Okay, so I haven't got it quite right. Let me go back a little bit further. So there we go, and there we go. So it's not a perfect system, but it gives you a rough idea. So again, I'm going to go there, and there, there, and there, there, and there, and then I can put in the rest of my numbers: 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, and 11. And there's my rough clock with my middle over there. It's just a rough way of doing it, but it's good enough. So like I said, the top of a Pritt stick or a toilet roll holder, anything round will work. I think the toilet roll is about the right size. If I was doing this at school, I would use that. Yeah. Okay, so let's go and have a look at our clock again. There we are. All right, so the first one I want to have a look at is putting 9:25. I'm going to leave out the AM or PM for the moment, just because it's not critical, because it's going to be the same for both the morning and the evening. In fact, let me jot down the first 10 times. So I'm just going to pause the video while I do that. Okay, there we go. I've just put 10 in. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to use the same colors. We're going to put it onto the clock. So I'll put it onto the clock and then I'll remove it each time. So we can use the same clock rather than having to scroll down each time. So I'm going to use the same colors. So I'm looking at the minutes, and what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to do my minutes first. So I'm going to look for 25. So remember, the numbers on the clock are pointing to the hours, and if we were looking at the minutes, we could count each one: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But because you'll notice that the hours are where every 10 is, what we can do is just count in 10. So we need to get to 25. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So this is where our minutes need to point. So I'm just going to draw my minutes pointing in there. All right, so the next step, and there's a reason why I did minutes and then hours when I'm going this way around, is I know that my, because it's 9 over here, it's going to be somewhere in this hour, but I'm not 100% sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my minutes, and I can see my minutes are almost halfway through the hour. So my minutes have gone from here all the way down to there. If they'd got to there, that would be halfway, which would be over there. So they're just short of halfway. So I'm now going to draw my hour hand pointing towards just less than halfway. So something like that. And what your teachers will do is they will allow you some level of error. Of course, if you've got it pointing in completely the wrong place, they won't give you the mark. But if you're roughly in the right place, they're probably going to give you the mark. Okay, so that's the first one. Let's look at the second one. So again, I'm going to start with my minutes. My minutes are pointing to 10, 5, 10. There's my minutes. My hour is in the 11th hour, so that means it's somewhere in that region there. It is only a little bit after the hour, so it's gone that far after the hour, so it's just a little bit, so that's going to be somewhere around about there. So again, I'm going to draw my hour hand pointing somewhere around about there. Okay, so that's 10 past 11. Let's have a look at quarter past. Well, quarter past is pointing over there. Looking at my hour hand, I've gone a quarter of the way, so I'm going quarter past 12, so it's got to be in this hour here. It's about a quarter of the way, so I'm going to go around about there. So again, if I'm not 100% accurate, like your teacher, I'll still give myself the mark, as long as it's closing in on the right area. Looking at number 4. So first of all, 40, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So my minutes are pointing over there. So you can see minutes is always the easiest part for this way around. And my hours is somewhere in this hour. So it's 40, it's gone past halfway, it's on its way towards the next hour. So I'm going to put it closer to the 5 than to the 4. Somewhere around there. Here we go, 5:40. 50. Well, you can count. Instead of counting from the beginning, use some common sense. We had 40 over here, so 45, 50. And then we look at our hours. It's somewhere in this hour here, because after 5, so it's off between 5 and 6. It's quite close to getting to the next hour, so I'm going to put my hour hand pointing quite close to the next hour. Looking at number 6. 37. So this is the first time I've given you a number that wasn't exactly on one of the hour numbers, because it's not ending on a 5 or a 0. So this is where it comes a little bit more tricky, but still not. So okay, so let me look for my minutes hand. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 36, 37. And so my minute hand should be pointing to there. My hour hand is past the halfway mark. And so it's in this hour, it's past the halfway mark, but just a little bit past the halfway mark. So there we go. There's my hour hand, and that is 2:37, or 23 minutes to 4, or to 3. Did I? Oh, sorry. Let me do that one again. I think I put the hours in the wrong place. So 37 was here, and my hour is a 2, so that means it's somewhere in that space. I think I did it in the next space. So let's go. It's after halfway. Oh, that was terrible. After halfway, there we go. So that is 2:37. Looking at number 8 quickly, we got 44. So again, it's not a perfect one. I don't know if you remember that this was 45, so 44 comes one before. So my minute hand will be pointing there. My hour hand is between 7 and 8. It's after 7, but not yet at 8. It's definitely closer to 8. So I'm going to put it over there. So that is 7:44, or 16 minutes to 8. Having a look at the second last one of this kind. I think you can just see it. Let me move up just a tiny bit. There we go. So having a look at this one, my minutes are 17. So this was 15, 16, 17. So my minutes are going to point to that one. So you can be quite accurate with minutes. It's just hours that are a little bit out. Okay, so hours is after 8, but not yet at 9. It's in somewhere there. it's just a bit after a quarter. It's not quite all the way, so we put it somewhere around there. There we go. That is 8:17 or 17 minutes past 8. Last one of this kind, 53. Well, this was 50 over here, so 51, 52, 53. So my minute hand is going to point all the way over there. My hour hand is going to be somewhere in this section here. It's definitely close to the next hour. So I'm going to put it almost at 2, somewhere around there. And that's how you do those. So I'm going to clear those ones out quickly, and then I'm going to write down some that we can put on our list. Okay, clock is clear. And now we're going from words into putting it on the clock. So this makes it a little bit harder, whereas previously we could just look at the numbers. Now we have to do it by looking at the letters and remembering when we're talking about to and past and that sort of thing. So first of all, we still follow the same process of starting with the minutes. So if I'm looking at 20 to 6, we're looking at past halfway and 20 till the next hour. So let's go backwards from here. 5, 10, 15, 20. So 22 will be pointing over there with the minutes. Okay, so that's nice and easy. We can go straight to that. With the hours, it's something to 6, meaning it's in the hour that's leading up to 6. So it's somewhere in the hour that I've put in pink over there. 22, it's past the halfway mark, but not all the way. So we're going to put it somewhere around there, and that would be 20 to 6. For your worksheet today, I've given you half of them where you've got to use the words go from numbers and half of it where you're going from words. So pay attention to the next 3. All right, so again with number 2, we're going to look at the numbers first. So 5-2, we're talking about 5 minutes till the next hour. This word is the one that tells us it's to the next hour. So 5 minutes before the next hour would be pointing at 11. So 5-2, the minute hand would be over there. When I'm looking at 2, I'm looking at the hour that leads up to 9. So somewhere in that hour. So it's very close to getting to 9. It's only 5 minutes away. And so our hand is going to point almost at the 9. There we go. There's not a lot of time for, not a lot of chance in this lesson for you to practice it. I know it's mostly demonstration, but I have found in almost 14 years of teaching that the demonstration on this is what helps children when it comes to them doing it themselves. You always come back and watch what I'm doing when you have the worksheet so that you can then remind yourself. Okay, so number 3, 12 past 12. Okay, so because we're looking at past, it means we're after the hour somewhere. We're 12 minutes past, so 5, 10, 11, 12. So our minute hand is going to point to there. So our minute hand. Our hour hand is something after 12, so that means it's in this hour here. It's quite close to the start of the hour, so we can put it in there, pointing just after the 12. So 12 past 12, there we go. Looking at the next one, again, we've got past, so we're looking at after the hour. We have 25 past, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Our minutes are going to point to the 20, to where 25 is, which is the same place as the 5 for the hours. We're looking at past 3, so it's going to be in the hour after 3. It's close to halfway, so we can put it not quite that long because it's the shorter of the 2 hands. There we go. So there we go. That is 25 past 3. Again, this is something that takes time to get. I hope that you're going to manage the worksheet for today. So that's the end of today's lesson. That's all we have time for. How many time jokes can one teacher come up with in one lesson? Watch next time and you'll find out. Okay, so there's a little bit more to do with time. So first, what we'll cover in the next lesson is converting 12-hour time to 24-hour time. which once you get it, once you understand, it's fairly straightforward. It's just something that you need to understand before you be able to get it right. And then we might do some word problems with time and talk about elapsed time. So that means how much time has gone by and that sort of thing. So just a reminder, the email address, grade5@worksheetcloud.com. And after the lesson, do the worksheet. Make sure you've got what we've done today, or at least practice what we've done today, so that even if you don't got it, you have it. You've definitely improved in your understanding. Okay. Awesome grade 5s. Have a fabulous day. I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.